There's one thing that many shelters and rescues do that drives me absolutely bananas as a behavior consultant specializing in intra-household conflict. One of the most important things that we can do when bringing home a new pet, for any new pet, but especially when we have other pets in the home, is to take things slowly. My recommendation is always to keep the new pet separated from the existing pets in the household for at least a week, if not longer. This can be a vital part of long-term success. When a dog first comes into a new home, it's usually an incredibly stressful time for them. They often have no idea what is happening, where they are, who they're with, or what's about to happen. They don't know if they're safe. They don't know the routine. There's no level of predictability. They don't know who lives here and who's visiting. They can't be sure that they'll be getting food or where they'll be sleeping. And often, although not always, they're coming from a very stressful situation. Perhaps they've been in the shelter. Perhaps they've been stray. Perhaps they were at the shelter and then moved to a rescue and they've gone through multiple foster homes. Sometimes they're coming from really traumatic happenings. They are not set up at that point in their life to bring their best self to a relationship. They are going to be apprehensive and unsure or overwhelmed, sleep deprived. And one of the best things that we can do to ensure long-term success between the pets in the home is to ensure that we're having only positive interactions, that we're not loading up the front of their relationship with negative interactions. And that means a really slow introduction. It means letting the new dog figure out who even lives here. Am I safe? Letting them settle in from the transition. And they can smell the other pets in the home, and the other pets in the home can smell them. And they're exchanging a lot of information that way without actually interacting and being in each other's spaces. And then we might start with introducing them in big spaces where everyone has space to get away from each other, to have a nice ebb and flow, to engage in the environment. And the new dog has a little bit more predictability to stand on. They feel safe in the space. They feel safe with the human relationships. And they have a lot of information about these other pets before they've even physically interacted. Often in the sheltering and rescue world, you'll hear people talk about the rule of 3. 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. And that's typically how long it takes a dog to settle in. After 3 days, they're starting to feel safe. After 3 weeks, they're understanding routines. After 3 months, we typically are seeing more of their full personality because they feel safe. And so it drives me absolutely bananas that a lot of shelters and rescues make people make a final decision within just a few days of bringing the dog home, because it puts the person in a tricky situation. Either they put their pets together and risk building negative interactions. And tricky piece, most people are not going to identify the interactions as negative unless they are overt aggression. But that doesn't mean negative interactions aren't happening. Usually before overt aggression, there's a buildup of other negative interactions. So one dog is overwhelmed and starts humping the other. Or there's some low-level resource guarding. One dog is going after the other dog's toy and the second dog has to keep moving away to try to keep the toy. Or one dog is putting off body language and behavior that says, hey, you stay away from me, I'm not sure about you. And the other dog is carefully avoiding the situation. They're walking on eggshells. And those types of things very easily fly under the radar of people who aren't, doing behavior work for a living or educated in the intricacies of dog-dog communication. So potentially, we're putting the dogs together, we're building up these negative associations, and then weeks or months down the road, we're going to see an increase in the tensions, an increase in the conflict, and now suddenly we have an intra-household conflict case. And so we've put the dogs together, everything seems fine. It's really not fine. We're laying this foundation for these negative interactions. And then it's not until much further down the road that we more clearly see fights, bites, more overt tensions. Or we keep the animals separated and don't allow them to build up these negative associations. We give the dog time to decompress, but then we don't have good information about how the animals feel about each other before we bring this other pet permanently into the home. Some of the very best transitions that I have seen have involved long-term fostering options where we're able to keep the dog in the home for several weeks before making a final decision. And that really sets everyone up for success. And it's always so fascinating to me that this is often not allowed, because I think rescues and shelters know the rule of three better than most. If you are in this situation, my best guidance is to talk to the shelter or rescue about extending that fostering period for a few weeks so the new dog can have the decompression period that they deserve and the relationship can be best set up for success in the long term.